So today I'm going to be putting in a toilet. I had taken it out earlier, back a couple weeks ago when we were tiling our shower. And so today we need to reinstall it. I'm going to show you how to do that.
All right, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm removing the remnants of the old wax ring from the toilet. I'll clean that up nicely. Next, I'm pulling off the plug to protect anything from going into the drain while we were installing the tile. Then I'm taking the bolt and the plastic washer and that's associated with the wax ring and putting it in place. The plastic washer goes over here to hold the bolt in place. All right, now I'm taking my wax ring. I'm going to place it underneath the toilet bowl and just kind of compress fit a little bit so it'll stay there, at least temporarily, till I mount the toilet on top of the drain pipe. The other method for installing the wax ring is just to put it in place. If you're by yourself, this is often a better way. And now we'll put the toilet on top of the wax ring and line up the bolts. All right, so I'm just making sure got my bolts lined up, and then I'm lined up with the wax ring, and I'm just going to kind of compress it in place. All right, so unfortunately the tile is so thick that we're really not getting a tight seal on this wax ring, and you don't want that to happen, otherwise you'll get leaking, not only liquid leaking but also possibly gases. So we're going to put a thicker wax ring on this toilet bowl. So as you can see here, I'm using this much thicker wax ring instead of this thin 1-inch one. This looks like about 1.5 inch, and so we should be able to get a tighter fit when I put the bowl on top of the wax ring. So again, since I'm kind of working by myself, I'm just going to put the wax ring on top of the drain hole. And now I'm going to sit the toilet bowl on the wax ring. And you see I've got a little bit of a 1/4 inch gap, so now I can just kind of sit on the toilet and push it down, press it down nice and tight. That's good. And now we'll put the washers and nut on the bolts to secure the tank to the floor. All right, to secure the toilet bowl to the floor, starting with these washers associated with the plastic caps are going to cover the bolts. I'm going to put one down, then put the metal washer on top, and then the nut on the bolt. Now the trick here is to tighten it, but not so tight that you crack the bowl itself. So I got an 11mm wrench, and just kind of putting some weight down on the toilet to compress it in. And again, firm but not too tight. Now with the bolts installed on either side of the toilet, we're just going to take the plastic caps and push it down in place. Hear that snap? It's on. So I'm using the existing hardware that was in the tank because it was all working fine. The only thing I am replacing is the gasket right here that's going to sit right on top of this drain that comes out the bottom of the tank that feeds into the bowl. Okay, now with that in place, we can set the tank on top of the bowl. All right, we're just lifting up the tank and putting it on top of the bowl. There we are. Next, we're going to install the bolts that hold the tank to the bowl. All right, so this is the bolt that attaches the tank to the bowl. I put this washer on here on the bolt. This will get inserted into the tank and go through to the bowl. And then on the bottom side, underneath the bowl, underneath the tank, we'll attach a washer and then a nut. So we're going to just take our bolt and put it through the hole down there, all the way through to the bottom side of the toilet bowl itself. And we'll do the same for the other side. And we'll do the same for the other side. And so now I'm going to put this washer on, and the nut will attach after that. All right, now we're just tightening up this nut. Now it's very important that when you tighten this up, you don't over tighten it. And you can see the ribs here associated with the toilet bowl. You want to make sure it's even on both sides and it just compresses down to the ribs, because any tighter than that, you're going to probably wind up cracking the ceramic associated with the toilet. All right, so you can see I've tightened the nuts so that the rib here, the tank is just touching the rib on the back and the front. Now that's all that's left is connect the supply line up to the bottom of the tank, and they'll be ready to turn the water back on. And just make sure you don't cross thread this when you tighten this up. So again, I'm doing it finger tight. I'll probably turn it maybe 1/8 of a turn further just to make sure it's snug so there's no leak. So my channel lock's here, and I'm just giving like a 1/4 turn to snug that down. Okay, all that's left is to turn the water back on and see if everything works. Well, the water's running. Looking for any leaks. So far I don't see any leaks. Water's filling up in the bowl. All right, it seems to be flushing okay and closing properly, but just give it one more try. And we're just gonna let it fill up and should automatically shut off. Looking underneath here, I'm checking the supply line nut to make sure there's no water seeping in on that or seeping through the nuts that are holding the tank to the bowl. It all looks dry. And there is pretty much filled up. We're waiting for it to finally just kind of shut up automatically. The float's still coming up a little bit, ever so slightly, and the valve in here is basically getting more and more closed to the point where it should eventually just shut right off and we hear no sounds whatsoever. Yep, it's off. And we're just checking here to make sure there's no leakage from the bolts that are going from the tank to the bowl and the supply line, and it all looks nice and dry. Nothing on the floor. And the last thing to do is to put the toilet tank cover on. And this toilet is complete. And that's all it takes to install a toilet. Hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you get notified on my next video.